You guys like, man, I don't believe this. This is how easy this is. It's another piece to the puzzle you guys are learning today. All right. So let's go ahead and get started so I can respect your time. I know I like to talk. You guys are literally my only family and friends. You guys like, man, I don't. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to send this to you. As of course, you have your vocabulary. We already know what that is. You're going to be up to number 79 on this in particular book. Today, we're going to be discussing group number 4, verbs. Okay. In this lesson, we're going to learn about a fourth and final group. This is the last group of verb stems that you're going to learn about. Okay. This is the last group. You said, well, you have 14 lessons left. Yeah, because after you learn the first groups, then they're going to break down these groups and show you how they work in the present tense, and they're going to show you how it works in the future tense. We're still in how they work in the past tense. That's why everything you're going to see today on the end of a root, 3 letters, you're going to have either a ta or a t or a t or a ten or a ten or u, meaning those suffixatives, those suffixes that are added onto the end to let you know that something is done and already done. It's in the past. Okay. But this group of verbs describes where someone is doing an action on himself or herself, or where he is causing himself to do an action. Okay. It's very easy to identify this group, right? It's because it's always going to be 2 letters in front of the root. You're going to get this. It's only 2 letters. And when you see these 2 letters, you'll be, wow, that's it. Yeah, that's it. This is group number 4. Okay. And they'll have a summary at the end. But let's get right into it. Here's the first example. This is the easiest way to understand how this group works, which is in the past tense. So they're going to give us a couple of examples. We're going to go over them. So the first one is rakatsi, okay? Rakatsi et hayeled. And that means I washed the boy. Past tense. I've done this, okay? The rakats is the root of the word. The T on the end of that is I, and then direct object marker pointing directly to what I washed, which is the boy. Okay, that's why it's a hey on front of your lead. Okay, if I want to say it in a different way of me, I wash myself, all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add these 2 letters to the front of my root. So it's not here, it's right here. Okay, so look at that. You see that? All they did was put a hey and a tav. That's all they did. And this right here tells you myself as it. So you break it down, you got the pieces. Okay, I'm sorry for my line, it's a little thick. There it is. That's myself. This is I, and the root right here is rakats, which is washed. Past tense. How simple is that? So what do you have to remember? All I should remember is that the letter hey and a tav together tells me that this means myself. Okay? That's all I want to tell you. So let's go over it. The hith right here on the front of the root of rakats tells us I did the washing on myself. Okay? The next one is using one of our vocabulary words, which is galak. Okay? Gilakti, galakti haish. I shaved the man. Now, I'm going to go right here. What's the first letter?
Hey.
Okay. And how would we put that in English?
H.
Thank you. Okay. What's the dot underneath it?
E.
So I.
I.
So I. If it was a dot and a yod, it'd be 2 E's. Okay. If it's 1 dot, it equals I. Okay. Like that. All right. So far we got the HI. What's the next letter?
TH.
Yep. There you go. So how do you say it? Hith. Everybody say it. Hith.
Yes.
Hith. Okay. So you guys always hear me talk about hith pael. That's what a hith pael is. A hith pael is a hith, and then pael is the work on myself. So Pael has to do with work, and then the hith is pointing to myself. Isn't it simple? Isn't this beautiful? Okay. So if you ever have a problem, just go ahead and take the hey and the tav and just write it out. H, I, and then TH. If I had a dot in it, would it be a TH?
No, the T.
It'd be a
RT.
T. Thank you. It'd be a hard T sound. And we'll get later on to that. With those actually little dots that are in there means like this, those mean something, you know, and I don't want to confuse you because there's two meanings for that, or actually several meanings for this. When we get to our next book, we'll go in a little bit more on the grammar. Remember, this is just the basics, okay? So this one here again is hith is on the front of the root. So this is always going to be on the front. It's always going to be on the front of the root. And then you'll see that in your examples, okay? And here it is. Again, it tells you right here on the bottom that it's a group 4 and it's a hith. And hith basically means what?
Myself.
Myself. That's it. That's just a piece of your puzzle. So you say that, okay? Easy. Was that hard? No. You got your roots down. Okay, let's look at this next one. All right, so here it is. There's some examples from the Torah. Okay, so someone read verse number 1 for me, the example. And if you don't know how to do it, we'll write it out. And you'll get it.
Vihith,
Yep.
Gala,
M.
Viet,
Okay,
Any, Etik, Lo, Igalam.
okay, so we're on the first one right here.
Oh,
I'm
my
on,
bad. Sorry.
it's okay. I'm on this one. I'm on a Yov, okay? So this one here is, let's all say M.
M.
Okay, so that's the first one. This is called a quiescent aleph, meaning it's silent, but the dot underneath it is an I, and the next letter is a mem, a final mem. So it's M, okay? No, not I'm, it's M, okay? I am, okay? M what?
Hits.
Hith.
M hith,
Ra.
ra,
Cots.
Hith.
ka, cots,
Cots.
uh-huh,
T.
T. So how do you say this?
Hith.
M?
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah.
M. Hith. Ra. Cots. T.
Yes, M Hithrakatsti. Yes, it's long, but that's how you do it. Okay, and that's simple, right? And then the next one underneath that is what?
Hith.
No, I'm just saying the next letter after Hithrakatsti.
V,
Is it?
Yeah, we got Va. Thank you. Va was perfect. Va what?
Ma,
May.
May.
May. Yeah. May. Okay. So Vame. So we got M Hithrakatsti Vame. Okay. Vame. That is real quick. Is V. Even though if it had a dot in it, it would be V, but it doesn't have that dot in it. Okay. So Vame. Okay. And I'll tell you grammarly later, like these two dots in his yo represents plurality. Okay. When we get into our another class. So those things mean. What's the next one?
Shaleg.
Sha,
Shaleg.
shaleg. There you go. Shaleg. Okay. So M Hithrakatsti Vame Shaleg. Okay. So you say, well, man, I ain't gonna remember what all that means. And guess what? That's perfectly normal. Okay. So don't try to figure it out yet. Like, what does it mean yet? You don't have to figure that out. What I want you to understand is that what we're talking about is, what does this mean? All right. So the first thing we're going to chop down is we're going to find out what this, like they're doing right here. Chop it down. Look for your root. If you know your root, rakats, and then you know T only means I, then you'll read it this way but you're going to translate it this way. I wash myself. Watch this. I washed myself. See that? 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. This is one of the easiest translations that you will ever have. Okay. It's so simple. This is one of the best. So the challenge for us would be, well, if I know my pieces. And again, the secret to understanding all of this is the root. If you don't know what the root is, then they'll put all these extra letters and it just confuse you. So what you got to do is you got to go find the root. That's what you want. You want to know what the root is. And that's the reason why, and this is my point trying to help you understand. This is the reason, like that word rakats right there. Check this out. That word right there, rakats, is going to be in your vocabulary. Where is it at? Is it over right here? Oh, did they have it up here? No, they didn't use it here. Okay. Probably in your previous, more than likely it's probably in your previous teaching on rakats. Okay. So they do use your vocabulary. But what I'm saying is, if you know, okay, your vocabulary, like the sentence we just read about shalag, that's the same word here, but it's pronounced shaleg here. So the way that they were, putting it in its sentence structure, they changed it to shalag, but it's still the same thing. It's still snow. So once you recognize these gadol and stuff like that, and you recognize your kol and you recognize bethok, you're going to recognize these things. Kerem, it's going to be something that you remember. Galak. Then when they add stuff to the front or the back, you'll be like, oh, I know what it is. But if you don't know the root and you're not familiar with the root, then it's going to be difficult. You're not going to know. Okay. You might try to figure it out, but it's going to be kind of difficult for you. And then that's when you're going to have some problems. So learn your vocabulary. Okay. Because all they're doing, everyone, is they're putting pieces onto the vocabulary. That's all they're doing. Okay. So let's look at this one right here. Number 3. Somebody take a shot at that. Number 3.
We hit. Oh, keep going. We hit quad dish.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Tim.
Yeah. Why? So it's what? Hith qua dish tim. Okay. Quad dish tim. Now I said that dalit twice. Okay, because it has a dot right there, right? So that's the reason why I said it. But again, let's break it down. That means and right here, okay? And then it says you, which is this part right here. But you see that it's a tav and a mem on the end. Is this a singular or a plural?
Plural.
Plural.
Why is it plural?
Mem Sophie.
Yep, it has a final mem, okay, on the end. So there's a mem that looks like this, which is on the end of a word, okay, and then the one that's in the front of a word or in the middle, okay? Forgive my writing. So you might see it in different manners, okay? So that's excellent, all right? So wahith quadash tem, and then we got another, right? And this one here is William, okay? So do you guys know who the William thin is? Well, in your lesson, it would tell you, and you. It'll be right above it because they haven't explained this to you, so they're not going to introduce stuff to you that you shouldn't know. So anytime you see something that or a word that you don't understand, they'll let you know what they're saying. So the and right here is what? What letter?
Wow.
Right here. Good. The U is what?
Tim.
There you go. And so what we're left with is Haya. Okay. That's what we're left with. Okay. And that means in Hebrew, will be. Okay. It's another form, Haya. Okay. It means you will be, or you will be, to exist. Okay. So with hith quadashtim, okay, the way ye theme, how do you say this? What's the last one? How do you say this one?
Kodashim.
Quadashim, perfect. Quadashim. So with hith, quadashtim, the with yathim, the quadashim. Okay. Why is it quadashim and not quadashim? Why is it shim versus shim?
The yo.
Is it a dot in the
Mem
yod?
for
Yes. Anytime you got the dot and the yod, it's this. Anytime it's the dot by itself, right? Then it's just a regular I sound, like an as an it. Perfect. Right? So if you break it down, that word quadashim or quadishtem means that and you. Okay. And it says will. Okay. Sanctify. Where's the sanctification? And why is it a will? Why is it a will sanctify yourselves?
the
Talking about
type
the
that in the mem.
Because they said this. Okay. And you will be. Okay. So the sentence structure is developed, right? So this is kind of a little tricky because remember, this in particular piece of the puzzle, let's call it what it is, this piece right here, which is the hay and the tav, is a piece, okay? And it says that you're doing something on yourself, okay? So the way that you're doing it is you're the one who's doing the action upon yourself. So it's not like, you know, you're going to just do it and it's in the past, right? Only because remember, we're talking about what's in the past, right? So the reason why I said they asked or put in here, you will, is because it says, and you will be this verb. So they're being a little unfair right here when they said this, because you would kind of be like, well, I don't see this because I thought you were talking about past tense. And we know that you will is a future tense. But because of the sentence structure with this word in here, and you will be, that will right there means that it's future. That's what that means. But other than that, if I was to scratch this out of here like this and get rid of this one right here was, you sanctified yourselves. Okay. Another thing too is this and right here kind of tells you something. It's a whole nother grammatical thing that I'm very careful about sharing with you because I don't want to confuse you, but this can actually change the tense, meaning it go from a future tense to a past tense, or from a past tense to a future tense. So there's just different things in grammar that you have to know in order to know how that is. And I think they're being unfair to us here, okay, by not explaining that, because they don't go into detail about that, which is interesting, okay? Point again, all we want to focus on though is this. That means what? You're doing something
Will.
on yourself because it is a you plurality, you yourselves, okay? You're causing yourselves to be sanctified. That's what it is. You're causing yourselves to be sanctified. All right. So let's look at this. Oh, you see what they did? You see what they did? In the example, they put you will, but down here, they did it properly because they didn't introduce that clause right here. They didn't introduce this. They don't have, they said you sanctified, past tense, yourselves. You caused yourselves to be sanctified. This is true. Like I told you, if you got rid of this little clause right here, then it would be that. Okay, so they weren't fair in that presentation. Okay, but it says note, we learned in lesson number 4 that group number 1, 2, and 3 verbs have an active and a passive form. Okay, so, and again, to cover that, it said the active form is used when we want to describe the action being done from the viewpoint of the person who did the action. Example, Reuven guarded the boy. Reuven is the one who guarded the boy. Reuven is the one who did the action. Whereas the passive form is used when we want to describe the action being done from the viewpoint of the person that the action was done on. The boy was guarded. Okay. So we're talking about the person doing the action, that's actively. When you talk about passive, the action is being done onto someone or something. Okay. So in this case, the boy was guarded. So it says, if we stop and think for a moment, we will see that group number 4 form of the verb is really just a combination of both active and passive forms of a verb, meaning you're not the only one that's doing the action, but you're the same one who is receiving the action. So the reason for this is that the form of the verb describes the action being done from the viewpoint of the person doing the action, right, which is the active form, and from the viewpoint of the person receiving the action. Okay, so you're the one doing the action on yourself, so you're receiving the action that you're doing, and that's called a hitpael. Okay, and at the same time, why? Because we're describing someone who's doing an action on him or herself. He is both the doer of the action and the receiver at the same time. That's why he says, I washed myself, I clothed myself, I did this, and all that is those 2 letters. That's all it is. So let's keep it simple. Let's keep it vanilla. Let's don't make it too hard, okay? And then they tell us here's group number 4, okay? But why I'm talking about the groups. We got group 1, we got group 2, we got group 3, and now we got this group number 4 right here, okay? So we know group 1 is a very San Francisco, what? San Francisco,
So,
California. What's the S?
Simple.
simple. Mhm.
F.
Forceful.
Forceful.
Thank you.
Positive.
Thank you. You guys are with it. I love you. That's it. And then the last one we have here is very simple. We'll just call it, I don't want to give it a name that they didn't give it. So let's just wait to see what they call it. I would call it a reflexive. Well, let's see what they say. They say doing the action on oneself. Okay. So just say myself, doing it on myself. All right. Because that's the action. You're doing an action on yourself. So they use here this verb. Okay. A root verb. A root. How many letters is a root?
3.
Thank you. Everything else added. Remember that. So if you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. So if you got 3, you got 7 minus 3. That means you got 4 left over. The 3 is the root. It's your job to figure out what the other 4 is. See? So on the front here, we got 2 of them. Okay, that's the head and the top. Okay, so I know that means myself. I got that figured out. Oh, the last 2 on the here are top. Oh, I've been doing that. I've been watching that. Oh, that means I. Okay, this is myself. Okay, I'm getting it. And then, oh, lavash. That means to wear something. So I dress myself. I'm wearing some clothes. I cause myself to wear clothes. Then I dress myself. Okay. I'm going to put up an example for you. And believe me, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm trying to make a fun out of it, make a joke out of it. So here you go, a call. Okay, that's my root. What does that mean?
To eat.
Thank you. Okay, very simple. Okay, if I want to put it in group number 2 and I want to force it, say I wanted to make it forceful. I'm going to put a little dot right here. I'm going to pull another dot right here. That's forceful. Okay. If I want it simple, just go like that. I know what that is. I'll call it to eat, basic. Okay. But now let's just say this now. I'm going to put a tov right here, and I'm going to put a hey right here. And I'm going to put a tov on the end just to keep it vanilla, to keep it simple. All right. So I added 4 letters to the 3. So we got 7 now. Okay. So what did I just write up here? Somebody tell me what I said. Starting from this area.
I
You.
What?
I. I.
Uh-huh.
I ate.
I ate myself. That don't make sense, right? So if you're going to do something, if you're causing yourself to eat, you're doing this action on yourself, then I fed myself.
Oh,
That's right.
You can't eat yourself. This is I to eat. Okay. So you got to see, this is what our our thing is we don't understand, like, we never been taught that you can cause yourself to do something. We've always been the victim. Somebody did something to me. Versus, what did you do? I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. No, you have fed yourself. I dress myself. If I caused myself to wear clothes, what did I do? I dressed myself.
I dress myself.
Yeah. If I cause myself to see something,
I saw.
yeah, I show myself. Okay. If I cause myself to remember,
I remembered.
I remember.
I reminded myself.
Oh,
Okay. You got that? So, zakar means to remember. Okay. Put a tav right here and put a hey right here. And I got the T on the end. Again, this means remember. So say it.
I
Did I remember myself?
I
reminded.
recall.
Reminded myself. You understand? So that's what it is. We're just not used to it. Okay. You can't remember yourself. I can't eat myself. That sounds crazy. Okay. Shamar, right? Shamar. What does shamar mean?
Guard.
I guard. Okay. I guard it, right? So if I say shamarti, right? What did I just say?
I guarded.
Guarded.
Guarded, because it's past tense, because it's on the end of the word. Okay. Now I'm going to introduce the hit on it. What did I just say?
I protected.
Yes.
Wow,
I
good job.
protected myself. Yes. Praise Yah. That's what I'm saying. So the concept of guarding and remembering and all that and reminding and those types of things, we got to expand our mind. We have to think, we have to think. Okay. So just showing you how that works, how simple that is. It's just pieces to a puzzle. Okay. And that's what we need to understand. Now, you guys have done a wonderful job. I told you lesson 7 is the bomb. 7 is the bomb. It's the last thing, and lesson number, and the past tense learning. You guys should be happy and ecstatic that you understand this. All it is signs and little symbols that you're learning about. You're learning about what is this little kamatz. They got a name for it, but don't worry about the name. Just look at what it looks like and understand how you sound it, right? So there's several things you got to learn about it. This thing has a sound. It has a symbol. You know what I'm saying? It's sign. It's a sign. It also means what? Simple action. It's actually had a name called a kamatz. It also has another meaning, from depending on where it's at in the word that you're going to learn about on another level. So right now we're just learning the basics. Okay, it just tells you I ate. Simple. And actively, it says this is active. This is passive. They're both simple, but action can be done 2 different ways. Okay, and then today you learn in the number 4, the 7th form, action and type that you're doing on yourself. And it's both active and passive because you're the one doing the action onto yourself. Easy, lemon squeezy. So if you study this and you just keep looking at it, and guess what? You don't have to say it. Just take the paper out and look at it for about 5 minutes every day and read it and say, oh, that's passive. That's active. That's active. That's passive. And then you learn these. And that's not hard. Why? Because they're all the same letter. They just got different dots underneath. Don't worry about them dots. Just telling you, it just comes with those dots. As long as the hey on the front is causative, on here in the bottom, it's just arranged a little different with that little who on the end, but that's it. Still a hey. So then if it's a verb, oh, a hey's on front of it. Okay, that's causative. But remember, I told you it comes with what? Sometimes it comes with that yo, and that's it. And then today, that's myself. Easy. You see? San Francisco, California, and then on yourself. Simple. That's the table. Was that hard?
Not really. With your
Oh.
help.
No, it's not hard. Okay. And then here, okay, it says, now I want to tell you about this. This is called a foolproof method of translating Hebrew verbs. So they're literally telling us that don't worry if you think you can't figure it out, you can. All right. They're going to discuss a way that you can translate these verbs. And translation is basically chopping down the actual word. You're going to split the letters. Okay. So it says the way that you do this, and they call this in the grammatical term called parsing. You probably heard that word parse. And it's spelled P-A-R-S, forget my writing, S-E, parse. Oh, that's ugly. Parse. Okay. So to parse something means to split it up. Okay. To chop it down. Okay. So they're going to give you some easy ways. So what we got to do first is you got to look for the 3-letter root letters of the verb. That's the first thing you want to do. Like I've been saying, you want to find that root. If you know that root, then you would understand what's being said immediately. Okay. You'll get the root of it. And then all other letters that are added onto the root of the verb, meaning in the front or in the back. Okay. So you can see here that they added letters onto the front. They're adding letters onto the back. Okay. Right here. That's what they're doing. So they're just adding to the root. That's all they're doing. And that's all you're going to do. All right. So once you learn how to chop something down and you split it, says an easy way to do this is draw a line. And you'll see this in your practice and you'll see this in your homework. You just go and chop like I told you. I already put you up on this a long time ago, that you just chop stuff down. And then you split it up and you find out what the root is. Because you guys know what the root is because you have the vocabulary, right? So having broken up the verb into these 2 parts, the 3 root letters and the other added letters, we then start to translate it in the following order. The first thing you're going to look for is the root, the 3 root letters. Okay. Then which is a child root. I introduced that to you because you need to know that. They don't tell you that it's a child, but you need to understand it. It has great significance for later. Okay. Says you find each tense. So you're going to find out, is this a past tense, present tense, future tense? And the best way you can find that out is where the letters are located. Is the letters that are added on the end of the root, or in the middle of the root, or if they're the front of the root? If they're in the front of it, means something that's in the front of something, means in the future. F, front, future. That's it. Something in the middle, I'm in the middle of doing something. In the middle, that means present tense. I'm presently in the middle of something. If it's at the end, it's done. I'm at the end of that. It's over with. Very simple. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find the person who's doing the action. Is it I, first person? Or is it second person, you? Or is it third person, he or she or it? You understand? I, is it first person singular or is it common, plural? Is it second person singular or is it second person plural? Is it third person singular or is it third person common, plural? You see? So the first person and the third person have common plural. That means that it can include both male and female. Okay? That's what it is when it's a combination. Common, they have it in common. You can have 1,000 females, you got 1 male in there and it's still common. Okay? If it's all females, then of course it wouldn't be common. It would be feminine. Okay? So that's what you do. You look for the person. Okay? And then also too, you're going to look at what group, according to this book, you're going to find, is it a group 1? Group 1 is a simple. Is it group 2? Well, that's forceful. Is it group 3, which is causative? Or is it group 4, which is on oneself, myself? Then after you do that, you're going to find the form, right? You're going to see, is this form? When it talks about finding the form, I got confused at first. I was like, well, what do you mean find the form of the verb? Is it an active or passive? The form is this. To let you know what the form is. The form is this. That's the sign. That's a form. The noon is a form. The dot is a form. The 3 dots is a form. That means this to tell you that this is active. This to tell you that it's passive and it's in group number 1. This one to tell you that it's forceful, but it's active. This one tells you that it's forceful, but it's passive. Then this letter right here tells you that it's both active and passive. You see? I'm gonna throw a letter up here. You tell me which one it is. Okay? You tell me what group. What group?
Three.
Thank you. Group 3. What group?
4.
4. It's only 4 groups, you guys. What group?
1.
Is it active or passive?
Active.
Thank you. Sal's memorization. What group?
1.
Thank you. Active or passive?
Passive.
Good. So it's either active or a passive. That's what you're going to get. It's always going to be first person, second person, third person. It's always going to be male, female, or common. And that common might be what?
Single.
Singular.
Singular. Plural.
You see? So you got your pieces and understand. Okay? And then they're going to give you examples how to do that. It's just pieces to a puzzle. And you guys are getting it. Okay? Here you go. To tell you how that's done. And here's some examples. They're going to give you some examples how to break it down. So let's all do this one together. All right. So somebody tell me how to do the top one here that I have. How to say it. Let's say it first.
Shibarnu.
Shabar. Okay, so those 3 dots. First thing I see is those dots, right? So don't worry about those, but first thing you're going to look for is sticking to the program is the root. The root is shabar, and it means to break. Okay, that's why it's important for us to know our vocabulary. The second thing is the tense. Is it past tense or is it future tense? It's in the past. Why?
Because it's at
Why is
the
it
end.
past? Because this 2 letters here, this sufformative or suffix is added on the end of the root. New is a person, right? What type of person? Is it first person, second person, or third person?
New is second,
First person,
first.
first person what? Common. They got it in common. Okay. Now, if it's first person singular, it would have been T. We could be male or female. Okay. Here is first person common. New. Like Eloheinu. Okay. And we would translate that our Elohim because it's on the end of a noun versus a verb. When it's on the verb, it's we. It has to make sense. Okay. The 3 dots right here tells us something. When I look at it, I know it's in group number 2. And in group number 2 is a very forceful place. It's very hostile. So I'm not talking about breaking anything. I'm literally talking about smashing it. And it also tells me it's passive. That something is being smashed. Okay. It means passive means that I'm not doing the action. The action is happening on me or it. Okay. So who was smashed?
Hmm.
Who was smashed according to this?
They.
We.
We were smashed. Finally, we were smashed. We were smashed. You see how your eyes got to work? We were smashed. Were is for passiveness. You're not being smashed. You were smashed. I'm not doing the smashing. I'm the one being smashed, or we're the ones being smashed. Don't worry. You'll get used to it. Okay. Let's look at this one. How you say number 3?
Nishmarti. Nishmarti.
Nishmarti. Nishmarti. Nishmarti. See that? Now I wrote it out. Nishmarti. N, the dot, I, SH, that's Nish. That's already done. Mar, M, and an I, and an R, R. And then what? T, T-E-E. Mishmarti. Okay? Once you start hearing the T, you'll know, oh, that's I. Okay? So the first thing you want to look for is what?
Root.
Root.
Okay? So I got a whole bunch of letters here. How many letters I'm looking for the root?
3.
3. Okay. Now that okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6. So I know I got 3 left over. Okay. So tell me the 3 letters of the root.
Shamar.
Shamar, Shin, M, and Aresh. Okay. You fought and you've been knowing T enough, so you understand the T is I. So it tells you the tense. The tense is in the past because the T is at the end of the root. Okay. You find out who the person is. It's I, singular. Okay. Common. It's not masculine. It's not feminine. It's common because the T on the end is I, and that could be either a male or a female. Okay. Now, we got this. So it tells me something. Is that active or passive?
Passive.
Passive. Okay. It's absolutely correct. It's passive. And what group?
1.
Thank you. It's group number 1. And group number 1, what type of action is that?
Simple.
Simple.
Thank you. So do you see how you and I have to memorize these things? You see? And you put your pieces together. You understand? So it's describing the action, and when it's talking about if it's passively being done, it says here that if you look at the table, we'll see that the noon was added onto the root. I'm going to move it over a little bit so we can all see it. Onto the front of the root tells us that the verb is in group number 1. Group number 1 describes the action being done simply. In this case, guarding. Right? So the form is that the noon also tells us that we are in the passive form, that is describing that which is being done, right? Or which was being done, which was guarded. Okay, it was guarded. Okay, I was guarding. Or excuse me, I was guarded. Excuse me, I was guarded. Okay, in the past. Okay, so then they're going to use the next one, and easy. So you have to memorize that, and that's what it is. Then they got some other examples here for you. So when you get this, you'll go through your examples and you'll understand it. Lesson number 7 here, right here is at the top. Let's just do probably let's just do 2 of them. Okay. So the first one is what?
If Galati.
Okay, Galata.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ta.
Ta,
That was a
okay.
yod.
So what we're going to do is, so one of the things that I learned over learning Hebrew is I wanted to know what it meant first, right? And I wanted to learn how to say it. Saying it is not the most important. That's not the most important. The most important is to be able to chop it down. That's what these exercises are for. So let's chop it down. So what we have here is, you notice they're going to go over what you learned in your lesson. So let's chop it down. All right. So we got Galak, we got Hith, and we got Ta. All right. So this Ta right here is what?
I.
You.
I is a Tav and a Yod. That's I. Okay. But that's not a Tav and a Yod. That
You
is
ma-
a Tav. What
You
is it?
male?
Yes. It's you and it's masculine. Thank you. Okay. And then this word here from your vocabulary is galak, and galak means shade. Okay. And then we got the hith means oneself. Okay. Or myself. Okay. So, or yourself, who we're talking about. So you, singular, shaved yourself. self. Okay, this one right here.
His galactem.
Okay, so it's exactly the same letters are the hith right here, like that. The galak is right here, same as that. And this is a ta, meaning you. And then you got another piece to the puzzle. Tem. What does tem represent?
You masculine plural.
Thank you. You masculine plural. Thank you. So when you say you shaved yourselves, plural. And you're talking to a man. Okay. Here, we got a different root. What's the root there?
Kadash.
Ten.
Kadash.
Okay.
You know that kadash means to be set apart or sanctified. Okay. So this means on oneself. Okay. And we got 10 here. Who's 10 talking to?
Feminine
Yeah.
plural.
Feminine plural. And it's a group, right? So you, but it's also you, person. You, feminine plural, you sanctified yourselves. Plural. Got it?
Mhm.
Okay. So don't get all puzzled because you see something with 8 letters in it. Or 10.
Mhm.
Okay. That doesn't mean anything to you now because you know it's nothing but pieces of a puzzle. So Kodash is here. The U on the end is what?
We. I'm sorry, we.
They.
Oh, they.
Yes. And they is third person plural. Okay. And it's common plural. Because the they, you don't know if it's male or female. They don't distinguish that. Okay. And then it says they, okay, sanctified what?
Themselves.
Okay. So depending on what the ending is, the ending will tell you if it's feminine, plural. It'll tell you if it's masculine, plural. It'll tell you if it's common, plural. It'll tell you if it's you, singular. You already know what the roots are. And then you have the added piece to here that tells you that you're in group number 4, that something's being done on yourself, myself, yourself, you, which is, here, plural, second person plural, okay? Even though it's feminine plural, it's either first or second or third. And here it is, it's a second. It's a second, okay? So it's either gonna be first person, second person, third person. That's it. These are the only people you gotta worry about. And it's gonna be singular or it's gonna be plural or common. That's it. Masculine or feminine, that's it, okay? So do your homework, do your exercise, and I'm also going to send you over the answers to make everything really nice for you. So you can really feel like I felt when I learned. That's what I did, and it accelerated my learning, okay? It accelerated my learning. I'm giving $1,000 out to whoever reads number 4 and interpret it. Yeah, but you guys are like, I want to know. In the morning is the day that on the 6th day in the morning, Dawid, he addressed after his son, Shlomo. And afterwards, thus Shlomo had went what? To the Talmudim. He went to the class of the Torah, according to what Shlomo, right? You'd be able to do it, right? I would do it. When I went into those places of the kibbutz with these Jewish people and they refused to let me learn, I said, and I'm going to show these people. And I have. I go there and I read everything on the wall. Yeah, I tell them everything that they, what I mean? I tell them everything just to make them mad.